Hi there. I'll give it a few moments here so that we can get a few people to connect and then we'll get rolling. Hi, back to all of you. Those of you that are saying hi. All right. Well, I'll start gradually diving in here a little bit. Um, it's funny, it's my first Facebook Live event. And so it's a little new to me, but we all have plenty of Zoom experience these days. So, and I have plenty of experience of just talking, um, and even if it's to myself, because some of you might have heard or know of my podcast where I just basically talk for an hour, hour and a half for me. But we'll give it another few moments here, and then I will dive into sort of an introduction and a prep for how we want this conversation to go, especially where we are at in this quarantine time, in this pandemic time, and how we can use this time to our advantage, and how it's actually not that uncommon to what most athletes go through, and not that uncommon to take this time of confusion and adversity and turn it into something that's quite memorable and positive and meaningful. And so that's what we're primarily going to talk about today. And that is how to take the athlete's mindset in a time like this and sort of look at it from a different perspective and in it through a different lens with regards to how we want to kick out of this. So, all right. So from that sort of intro aspect, I'd like us to sort of try and exercise. Now, of course, for those of you driving or listening to this in an environment where you can't really close your eyes, I just would like you to at least try to imagine yourself going through this exercise. And that is seeing ourselves at the base of our mountain, whether that's Sun Valley, whether that's Snow Basin, whether that's Stratton. And let's say we don't close our eyes necessarily, but we see ourselves at the base of that mountain. And not just do a scan of the beautiful environment, the mountains, the lodge, the blue skies, the mountain air, the energy and atmosphere of us being there, but also do a scan of yourself, your health, your fitness, your excitement, your pride, and sense of accomplishment in the training you've done to get here, to the base of this beautiful mountain. Your fitness, the muscles you've built, the weight you might have lost, or the fitness you might have fine-tuned, the healthy body you have built. I want you to imagine all of this, how that feels, that healthy body from inside out, from eating healthier and more thoughtfully because of the training you were doing. You're also thinking about what you're putting in your body because of the hard work you've been doing. That bounce in your step, that feeling of purpose and accomplishment, all that many of you that have experienced the 29029 before know what that feels like when we roll up to the mountain and see it for the first time, see what we'll be hiking, and taking a moment to feel the last few months or almost a year maybe that you've been preparing for this, and the confidence that you actually did the training and how that felt. And now looking at the mountain, the excitement and curiosity of what the next 36 hours will bring. And I ask all of you, do you like that vision? Do you like that vision of yourself, Does it feel good knowing you got there and all the sacrifices you made and all the things you went through to get there? Does that version of you feel amazing, alive, connected, powerful, fully immersed? Yet that night, in our imaginary time that we're standing there at the mountain, that night we go to our tents and there's a bizarre power surge, a weird convergence of events. No gondola, no power, no lighting, no anything. Not able to put on the event because of an unseen circumstance that was just unforeseeable. And due to liability and safety reasons, no 29029. Just continuing to envision that. So there is that version of you. Now, let's go through a harder exercise. Let's take back that version of you ever so gently. Let's take away some fitness. Take away some of the sensations, the pride, the journey of accomplishment that it was so fulfilling. Add on some weight. Feel less fit. Eat a little unhealthier. Less time outdoors and exciting summit Saturdays. The follow through. Take away some of the obstacles you overcame, the sacrifices you made, the Instagram sharing. Take away some of the funny stories, the experiences, the hard training days, the sense of pride to have been creative with Brent's workouts descriptions because you might not be in a location that allows for climbing the same way. We are essentially going through what a lot of athletes have as a predicament in their journeys. Would you want to lose the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go? Would you want to lose game 7 of the NBA Finals or the World Series in the final innings? Or would you rather be out of contention halfway through the season? Because that's what we're talking about here. In this time that we're going through with 29029 and this pandemic and sort of being on lockdown, a lot of us are making choices on how we want this journey to go. Do we want to say, because of the circumstances outside of our control, we don't want to have the experiences for the next few weeks and months towards our event? Or do we continue on? Or do we still have it in our power to still have all those experiences, that pride, that joy, the journey, the meaning, the friendships, the Instagram sharing, the Summit Saturdays? All those things can still be accomplished. This is your personal journey, one that nobody can take from you if you so choose. You can still be guaranteed all the results of this amazing 29029 journey to Sun Valley, to Snow Basin, to Stratton, if you so choose. Everything we envisioned that we just talked about above or earlier, the day before the event, besides standing at the base of the mountain looking up, can still be had for those of you Sun Valley based who are entered for Sun Valley. All of it, it is your choice. And so I ask with this conversation, do you want it? How do you want that weekend to come? Whether in August or the weekend coming up in 6 weeks in June? How do you want that weekend to come? With a sadness in your soul of what could have been? Or with a sense of even more pride, confidence, and sense of accomplishment? And why do I say that? Because doing it this way, with no event, or during this time of pandemic is harder. It requires an extra component to being an athlete. You have to pull out the Jedi mind trick of training for the journey, for the process. But even better for all of you is that you still get to enjoy the physical, mental, and spiritual benefits of the vision we just talked about. You can feel the exact same way on that day, on that coming weekend, whenever it is, because it's yours. Nobody can take the training away from you that you will do. Nobody can take the experiences away from you. How you can feel, the experiences you have gained, the memories that will stick with you, the confidence that it is even more powerful because of the adversity you overcame, because of all this resilience you showed in this time. There is no downside for continuing to work hard at this. And many of us are struggling with the motivation to get ready for these events and the risk that they might be changed, postponed, even canceled. But there is no downside. A healthier, fitter, stronger, more confident, more experienced, more adversity overcome, more stories version of you. How can there be a downside? And life has presented you with time. The pandemic has shut the world down. Well, sort of, we're starting to come out of it, but this stopped time. We spend less time commuting. That equals more time to train and be healthy. No real eating out or travel. That gives us time to eat and be healthy. The sacrifices are always to be made, but the stories are written in the sacrifices that we make, in those summit Saturdays that you're doing, in the unexpected, in the shift of mindset is where the stories are. So I ask you, which version would you like to see be experienced coming out of this? The partial version, that is halfway through in prep and sort of gets distracted and unmotivated and avoids heartbreak because you're already not going to make the playoffs, as we were just talking about? Or would you like to complete the version that loses in the final minutes of the final game? Those professional athletes, though, didn't get all the upside that you did. The healthier, fitter, stronger, smarter, better version of themselves by going that far to the final 2 minutes of game seven or of the NBA finals, they don't get that. They were already that fit. They were already that the athletes they were going into this season. They're professional athletes. But you all have this amazing opportunity to persevere more than before in the face of this adversity to still achieve that version of yourselves. That is the athlete's mindset. That is your reward that will always stick with you, that despite this time, you persevered. We will all remember this time, this pandemic time. Now I ask you, how do you want to remember it? As a growth period? As a slingshot forward of health and fitness, strength and durability? As a story to be told for many years, how you did this training, this prep, despite everything? How you seized a disappointing situation and transformed it into a memorable, positive, meaningful, joyful one? That is up to you. How do you want to kick out of this time? Who do you want to be on the other side of this? Stronger, better, smarter, healthier, more resilient, and durable? It is there for you. Because just like almost any 29029 graduate will tell you, there is always another summit. The mountain is always there waiting to be climbed. Whether Colin O'Brady with the true Everest, he finished that adventure and moved on to the next one, higher, bigger, better, stronger. Or many of our 29029 graduates, the mountain was just a temporary destination. The outcome on the bigger journey to the next adventure of health and fitness, just a stop along the highway, a launching point. So while this launching point, this exit on the highway will not be possible, let's say with Sun Valley, it does not mean you can't keep moving forward, growing, building upon fitness and health and strength and nutrition and recovery and sleep along this highway, along this journey. That's what's waiting for you with this entire adventure. What I call this time an adventure. And when we kick out of this and look back and go, what did I do with that time? What did I do with this fitness? What did I do with that perseverance and sitting through the hours at home? Did I use them to my benefit? Did I come out stronger? That's my question to all of you. And when we struggle with motivation, of course, we all like to have an event to validate the hard work that we did. But the beauty of Summit Saturdays, the beauty of your training, the beauty of the way Brent puts it together is you guys all already know that you're getting fitter. You see it, you feel it, you've experienced it, you know it, you see the benefits of it, how you are with your surroundings, your environment, in your own physical body, in your patience, in your creativity, in your liveliness, in your purpose that you driven day. We don't need the event necessarily to validate the hard work we've done. The event is a celebration of why we're doing this, of meeting new people that sacrificed and worked hard just like us. A celebration to bring us all together, like minded, to enjoy the fruits of our labor, of course. And it's always a bummer to miss a celebration. But what you can't lose is your fitness. What you can't lose is your health. And as many of you guys are all seeing in this time, health is wealth. It is the most important thing to be carrying right now. So when you wonder if you're motivated, and you know people with chronic disease and underlying health conditions are struggling, and you have the opportunity to make yourself healthier and live better because of your health, that should be a big, big part of that motivation. And 29029 is there as a community to help you move forward, to help to continue this positive, potentially meaningful, memorable, joyful experience that this window, this stoppage time, this pandemic time is. And as you see yourself on Summit Saturdays, and as we move towards Utah or Stratton or Sun Valley, hopefully next year, and when we get together and we celebrate either way, you won't look back and go, I wish I was more motivated. You will look back and go, I'm extremely proud of myself to having gone through this, to having persevered. And I wouldn't trade the experiences for the way this unfolded for anything. That's my goal for all of you. Whenever we meet on the mountain, that you look back and go, you know what? My journey was my journey. I wouldn't want it any other way, because this was the journey the way it was meant to be for me. And here I am at the base of this mountain doing our ascents, going to achieve Everest. And who knows, maybe last year I wouldn't have. Maybe weather would have come up. Maybe I would have gotten sick. Maybe I would have injured myself. We don't know. But when we do it, we'll look back and go, we only wanted it this way. This is the celebration that we truly deserve and that we've worked hard for. And we were looking back on that pandemic time as memorable, as positive, as a time I persevered. So with that, and why we're going to kick out of this stronger, better, smarter, more durable, I'd love to open it to any type of comments or questions that you might have in the chat, because I fully believe that all of us on the call or listening to this down the road will want to know that they made this time, that they kicked out of this time as a better human being, as a better athlete, as a smarter athlete, as a more prepared athlete for whatever 29029 throws at us. I'll give you guys a moment to hopefully chime in and comment. And if not, I have another story of a 29029 graduate. So from there, one of our 29029 graduates is Sean. And many of you guys have seen him on the profile, on the social media channels. And I've worked with Sean ever since I met him at Snow Basin last year. And it was funny because along the lines of 29029 Idaho, Sun Valley, being postponed / canceled, he called me up or he texted me and said, now what do I do? Maybe we should back off a little bit because I don't have any real events until later in the fall. And um, most likely the training will change, right? That was the question mark. It was with a question mark on the back end of it. And I texted him back. I said, why would we change anything? We still have fitness to gain, strength to be gained, and training to be learned. And when we get to the weekend of 29029 Sun Valley and the fitness and the durability and the strength and the knowledge you've gained at that point, we're just going to launch from that and continue to grow from there. Why would we take a detour and move and slow down the engine, the car, the machine in order to just accelerate again at some point further into the summer? Why don't we take the momentum we have, create a new normal, create a new version of you that in the end of June is going to be stronger, better, smarter for the training we've done, and we'll grow from there. And it'll be a new version of you that looks at things differently, that is stronger, that can run longer, that can deal with more elevation gain as we prepare for other 29029 events or other type of ultra endurance events like all of you are preparing for. But that doesn't mean we take our foot off the accelerator. That means we just continue to grow and we continue to create a new platform, a new normal. And from there, we'll continue to move forward and create a new normal. We don't want to go backwards. As I was saying earlier, we don't want to give up what we've gained. We don't want to change our body and our metabolism and our mindset to something that we were 6 weeks ago. That's why we continue to do the work. That's why we continue on this journey to find out who that next version of ourselves is, who that athlete version of ourselves is that's looking to come out and to grow and to contribute to all other versions of us. And from there, continue to create a new normal and a new insight. So, a pure participant example of how we want to kick out of this. So one of the questions I see is if I can speak and talk more about being in nature and the impact it has on our body, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Well, as many of you know that either know me from Rich's podcast, Rich Roll's podcast, or also the time I've spent with many of you on the mountain, that is a big part of everything that I believe all of you are experiencing as ultra endurance athletes. And for many of you, you're new to being ultra endurance athletes. This is your first sort of ultra endurance event. And Jesse talks about it a lot. And there's a lot of comparisons to what you're doing that's way harder and way longer than traditional endurance events. And that's what I love about 29029. It's sort of our first opportunity to get a real taste of ultra endurance. And all night, all day, and into the next, an all day, all night, and into the next day event. There's not a lot of those that people just start out with. And of course, you're training for it, but it is a completely new adventure for many of you. But what you learn in that time on how your body connects to nature and how we're wired to be in nature and all the signals that turn on in our body when we are in nature like this. And when we're brought back to our primal self of being out in nature that long and being that fatigued and going at a pace, at an engine level that we're designed to be going all day, our go all day pace, it turns on all kinds of receptors in our body and it awakens all kinds of signals and new things in our body that we didn't realize we had. When you're hiking at 2 a.m. and you notice things in your periphery and your senses come alive, your hearing comes alive, your eyes adjust, your mind is completely alert despite your body being so fatigued. And coming out of these weekends, these 29029 weekends, all of us always have this huge heightened sense of awareness because it brings us back to truly what's inside of us, how we're wired, our DNA from millions of years of evolution. We were out in nature. We survived in nature. That's how it works. And our spirit and our soul is most alive and creative, and it works in harmony in its best ways with our body and our mind at that time. And many, many, many participants at 29029 or other ultra endurance events notice that that is when things are in sync the best. And they walk away from the event with an amazing taste of that. For some, it might only, some only taste it for, you know, 2 or 3 times for maybe a minute or two, but they felt it. And they walk away with a new sense and understanding for this. And it's incredibly powerful. And it drives them for many months, many, many months of looking back on what an amazing weekend that was. And the thing that isn't necessarily all of the amazement is, of course, the location is great, but it's also the sensations and the feelings and the struggles and the immersion in nature like that, that they felt, that they finally put a finger on and realize all their journaling and perspectives and patience and how their body is reacting. It lasts for weeks after. So, love your focus on this. This is very meaningful. I'm excited to start June 1 for Stratton. And you know what? It's sort of like with children. For those of you that have had children, on sort of taking a picture every day, those first few years or every week, I would recommend to whoever wrote that, make note of yourself, who you were on June 1st as you started your journey towards Stratton, and what was going through your mind and who the normal person was then. And observe how maybe on July 1st and August 1st and September 1st and October 1st, as we approach Stratton, what the new normal is, how you look at training differently, or the length of training, or the hours, or so forth, or how you look at the entire perspective of strength and nutrition and recovery and your body and all that differently, or whatever it is you notice. But I would definitely write down June 1 your perspectives and who you were, and observe on October 1 or when we go to Stratton, and look back and read that and look how far you've come in that journey. And especially as we go through this summer, this difficult summer ahead of us, that, sorry about that, that we have an opportunity to sort of capture that journey. I have maintained training form for the last year and am in my best shape. I'm participating. See, I'm having a hard time reading. I'm participating with 2 other friends with a mock 29029 in New Hampshire in early August. I want to make sure I don't burn out with starting my Stratton training, and also participate with my friends in August. Well, unless you have a lot of familiarity with doing it, I doubt you will burn out, because you might not be able to train in nature and you might not be able to train in an ideal scenario. So it will require a lot of sacrifice. But as I was saying, in that sacrifice, in that difficulty of getting it done, that's where the stories are. And those are the things you remember. When you look back on your training journey and who you've become, you'll remember the stories in the difficulties, not the easy days, not the days where you could just sort of wake up, walk out the door, execute the training, and go off to work, or in these days, come back home to work. What you remember is the difficult days when you didn't want to wake up, when it was raining, or when you had to be creative on how to execute the workout that Brent wrote, or meeting friends and you all suffered together. As an ultra endurance athlete, how do we start to spice up the mundane? The slogging long hours, the days we just aren't up for the mood for the long training day. Just trying to stay excited for the fall and 3 big events in 3 months. It is hard. Yes, and motivation is fickle. This is not about motivation because what's many overlook is we have with out there and we dangle it and think that's going to keep us going. But as you are noticing, the mundane, the carrot gets pretty boring. So you want to be able to combine it with some other adventures and activities. How can I combine my 29 out of 29 training, Brent's training, with something that is exciting and different? Whether that's a trek and hiking trip with my friends that in the short term I'll get ready to do. If let's say you're on the East Coast, you say, we're going to do a weekend on the Appalachian Trail. Or I have a local neighborhood um, loop that I like to do, even if it's not on trail. But I'm going to carry a 30-pound backpack on my back, and every 2 miles do 5 burpees, or create challenges for myself that I've never done before. That's part of changing the mundane. Yes, you are still executing the training, but how can I be creative with that training? How can I flip it so that it works for me and my schedule and my lifestyle and my interests? Now, you can't necessarily take a backpack and walk on a treadmill with it. That doesn't have the same training effect. But you do have an opportunity to do step ups with that backpack on to create the hiking of the mountain. There's all kinds of ideas. And if you need more ideas on how to be creative with that, because I don't know where you are or what your environment is like, I have athletes in Manila doing runs in a parking garage, going up the 4 flights because they're not allowed of their building, and because of the lockdown. And so, therefore, a parking garage that's attached to their building, they're doing uphill running in it. And yes, of course, it's more mundane and boring, but we throw different ideas in there every week. We throw different challenges in there every week. And important so that, again, you can measure your progress. Maybe have some sort of route or loop that you do that you can repeat as you're getting fitter and you can see the progress that you're making. But there's a lot of things that we can do to keep the mundane from remaining mundane. Just because it's words and workouts on a piece of paper or on online, or however you're getting it, doesn't mean we can't take that picture of the workout and make it a lot more colorful and exciting and curious and adventurous. Because I'm sure Brent is always excited to see how people took the workouts and made it work for them. And that's half the fun of the Summit Saturdays, too, to see some of the places and ways people get their altitude. So, but feel free to please email me or send a message that if you want some ideas and help around that, I'd be glad to help you with what many of my athletes are doing in this time in order to, again, to stay fit for the big mountains and some events that are coming up in the second half of the year. And that's the other thing to keep in mind. We want to be prepared for whatever that second half of the year or whenever we this kick out of this time, whatever that will bring. And I'm not necessarily talking only in 29 and athletic events. I'm talking about whatever energy and health we need. This is a great time to continue to fine tune that and focus on that. And the other part here is keep in mind, and I talked to Rich about this, he brought it up. That is just because we're not doing, let's say, physical activity, because let's say life is getting in the way right now with homeschooling and working from home, and we don't have the proper um, just necessarily mean training. It's a mindset that all of you have. It doesn't take an elite athlete, you to be an elite athlete to have the athlete's mindset. You can prepare for an event just like the world class athletes. You might not be doing the same workout, but you can prepare for it in the exact same way. And that is eating healthy, recovering well, getting a good amount of sleep, looking ahead to the workouts that you can do and executing them successfully with intention, with clarity, with purpose. So, being an athlete in this time, don't always look at it or judge yourself on it, because I fall in the same category of just not being able to do the workouts. You can be an athlete in so many different ways, in the core work or the strength and conditioning work, or in how you're eating and how you're approaching your day, as well as how you're sleeping and recovering. That's all part of being an athlete, not just the training. All right. I wonder if we have any other questions or if there's anything I was missing. But yeah, as I close it out here, I just want you all to know that from a motivation and an excitement aspect for these next few months, you want to keep in mind that who you are just in a week from now will be different if you continue to stick to the training and the workouts and the discipline of being the athlete you signed up to wanting to be. You already have the curiosity, hence why you signed up for 29029. You're curious about that part of you that's inside of you that's looking to be unleashed. And that person, that version of you that's looking to be unleashed, is sort of knocking at your door all the time. And we can try to suppress it. We can try to say we're not in the mood or we're not motivated today, but that knocking will only get louder and more prevalent because all of you had already shown the interest of our events that are far off in the future right now. And you want that version of yourself to come out. That's your subconscious talking to you and saying, I want this athletic version of myself that contributes the overall best version of myself to come out. And 29029 is a celebration of that version of myself coming out, of that athlete that's within all of us, in all of us, an opportunity to come out. So stay healthy with all this, stay fit, stay injury free, continue to train, continue to stay focused on our future version of ourselves, on our future outcome, on our health. And I look forward to seeing all of you at the celebration, wherever the 29029 event it is you are doing. I'll be there, and I'm looking forward to celebrating with all of you. So have a great training experience and great training journey. Thank you.